Finally. Jeez. Okay. Got it. Chat.
Set
Yes.
up my 3DS with my iPhone pointed to it because trying to get a 3DS with a capture card in the year 2022 is nearly impossible. So this is the best
Those
quality you
just
get. Opening it up to see all my old pets with names of dogs that at one point used to be in my life was a little surreal, honestly. It was really comforting to know that in some way a dog that passed on many years ago still exists in a small way through this game. Nintendogs as a game is just one of those experiences where nearly everyone that owned a Nintendo DS back in the day might have played it, either through a friend or by buying the pink DS Lite bundle that came with Nintendogs. It was a game where many could
I
cope
never
with
got
not
the
having a
chance to play
dog by
it.
taking care of a little puppy whose
I've
soul is
never had a
forever
console
trapped within
before.
their DS for hours on end. Also, I think it's criminal to talk about Nintendogs without at least mentioning the soundtrack once. This shit is full of nostalgia and bangers all over the place, man. If you watched the previous video, you heard that soundtrack all throughout, and watching this video currently, you probably still hear the soundtrack. Giving your dog a bath has its own little theme, taking your dog on a walk, shopping for your dog is another addition to Nintendo's insane lineup of shopping themes that are weirdly good for no reason,
Put a
and
lot of
yelling at
effort
your
into
dog because
this.
the bastard won't pick up the goddamn frisbee in time so we can get more points to beat the disc trial. These are all memories of a DS game that I will probably take with me to my grave. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go take my Nintendogs for a walk. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing and click on the first Dog Games video to get more dog.
Yep, another great video. Uh, this one next.
I'm going to be honest.
Okay, designing the perfect crafting system for MMORPGs by Noidev.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Crafting in MMOs these days is not fun. More often than not, crafting is a bolted on mechanic only there because the developers needed to be able to check a box on a list. A system that's only there to keep you inside the game for as long as possible. Well, I'm not having it anymore. Too long have I seen crafting be disregarded as poor man's progression, and too often is crafting overshadowed by the end game loot drops. No more. Today, I'm going to break down my favorite games and distill all the best parts out of their various crafting systems. I'm going to take you on a journey, and together we will create the greatest crafting system the world has ever seen. It's no
I'm here
surprise
for it.
that many RPGs, MMO or otherwise, have some sort of crafting mechanic present. The whole point of an RPG is to insert yourself into the narrative and become the main character. You are the one fighting the monsters. You are the one getting stronger. You are the one saving the world. And it's that second point where crafting comes into play, getting stronger. Crafting takes this step and expands it. You, the player, can now get stronger, not only by defeating monsters, but also by ripping the raw materials out of the very earth and pounding the elements into submission to bend them into the very tools of destruction you seek to wield. What's not to love? In the end, crafting is all about having agency over your journey to gain more power and defeat more powerful enemies. Pay attention to that word,
Yeah,
agency. It's
agency.
going to come up a lot. Now that you know why crafting is important in RPGs, we are going to go over the 3 ingredients that I believe will make the perfect crafting system. Ingredients, progress.
Okay, immediately I'm going to say what I feel like is the perfect crafting system for MMO is that you kill enemies to get material, and then when you are doing the actual crafting, you play like a mini game. That's like what's it called? That has like certain differences depending on like what you're crafting. Like like the cheaper materials are like really easy to craft, and then the stronger materials are, I mean, the stronger weapons are way harder to craft. And like, yeah, depending on like what type of material, it changes like kind of how the mini game is. Like it's not just difficulty rising, but like differences. Like I would have to like draw a whole mind map to like is like fully sure like what I'm talking about, but yeah, hope you like get the point. And was there something else I was going to say? Don't think so. Yeah, but yeah, that's essentially it. And like if you fail the mini game, of course the thing will be broken and all your materials will be destroyed. Then you have to like get the materials again. Basically. Oh yeah. And one more thing. What does it again? Have me. Good. Yeah, and also some um craft some items would be locked behind uh making some other stuff like maybe for this cheap one you can just craft it by hand, but then another one you need like a crafting table. Yeah, kind of like that, like how Minecraft does it.
Progression and agency. Step one in all crafting is gathering materials. And if you want to craft something, you're going to have to go out and get a bunch of other somethings first. And sadly, in many RPGs, this is where we see the crafting diverge from the main gameplay loop. I like to talk a
Mm.
lot about my time playing EverQuest 2.
Dun, dun,
And even
dun.
though it will hurt my very soul to point out its flaws, I will soldier on for science. Like most MMOs, the main attraction in EQ2 is killing bad guys. Talk to some people, kill bad guys. Get a quest, and kill bad guys. Do some raids, and you guessed it, kill bad guys. So there's a massive tonal shift in the game when you start your crafting journey because the game goes from this to this.
Amazing.
Now, don't get me wrong here. Having downtime in a game is a good thing. Check out this video by the architect of games on why fishing is so popular in RPGs and MMOs. But the problem in EQ2 is that crafting is completely separate from the rest of the game. Nearly every single recipe consists of ingredients that are gathered from harvestable nodes found randomly throughout the world. If you're making a
Yeah, that's always so weird. Like so many games do that when like obviously you should just get the material from the monsters. Why do you have to mine separate things? Like even in what's it called? In Genshin Impact. Yeah, I'm watching Genshin Impact. But yeah, in Genshin Impact when they added the housing, you had to like go and like ch like chop trees to get the wood and stuff. Like shouldn't you? But to be fair, they did just add that to like make you play more. So if you could get the materials from the monsters, that to like take remove the function of why they wanted to add it in the first place. So yeah.
you're gonna harvest fibers from a plant. If you're making a bow, you're gonna harvest wood from a tree. And if you're gonna make a sword, it's metal from an ore vein. Even leather from leather
Like why
lumber
can't get
or
them
meat
monsters,
for
bro?
cooking, you'd think would come from a creature that you have to kill. But nope,
Yeah.
they're found in these harvestable nodes called animal dens. And the game never deviates from this formula. The first thing that we're
So
gonna
you can't
do
even
for our
kill an
perfect
animal, just
crafting
go to
system
an
is to
animal den.
keep the source of our crafting materials varied and unique, as well as tie said materials into the core gameplay loop. Monsters in any RPG or MMO should be varied and unique all in their own way, so it stands to reason that we can have varied and unique drops that go into crafting recipes. A bee can
Yep.
drop its stinger, a skeleton can drop bones, a ghost can drop
Give me them
ectoplasm,
bones.
all useful in various differing crafting recipes. Sure, we can still have harvestable nodes throughout the world, but that's only the start. Monster parts is what we'll use to add some spice to this crafting system. Now
Yeah.
let's talk about crafting progression. Much like gathering ingredients can seem like a large tonal shift from the primary gameplay loop, crafting progression can also feel like getting ripped out of a flow state and thrown into a call center job. Pick steel sword, and off you go into the world to collect some metal mile ore and some wood. You're all ready to forge your brand new steel sword. But what's this? You're only a level 1 blacksmith. You need to be at least level 10. What does an able-bodied adventurer like yourself have to do to get to level 10 blacksmithing? Well, you gotta get 30 times more ore and wood and craft up 4 dozen useless level 1 iron weapons is what you gotta do. There's got to be a better way. This is the problem specifically with leveling crafting professions that deal with equipment and
Yeah, I do
weapons.
not like that.
Equipment doesn't expire, and demand for equipment is never really that high. And all those level 1
Like especially doing it that way when weapons don't have like a durability is so dumb, bro. Because you make so many useless weapons that you cannot use at all.
iron weapons that you just crafted for that XP, they're pretty much a waste of resources. There is already
Yeah.
1,000 of them on the auction house, and they sell to an NPC for pennies. To fix this issue, we're going to remove skill levels from equipment crafting entirely, and instead of leveling some arbitrary XP value and a level number, the player will instead upgrade their various crafting stations with bigger and better crafting stations. This way, progression is as fast as the player can
Yeah,
gather materials
definitely.
to progress through
Yeah,
the
that's the
various crafting
yeah,
station
that's great.
tiers. The closest example of an RPG that I know off the top of my head that mostly functions this way is Ark Survival Evolved. In Ark, the player starts off with only being able to craft things directly out of their inventory, and then graduates to the smithy and a forge, then to the fabricator and chemistry bench, and finally to the tech replicator. So long as the player has learned a recipe and had the proper workstation and ingredients, they could craft that item. There's no crafting specific level system necessary. Now, Ark only had a handful of
Yep.
crafting stations that were progression gatekeepers. Our perfect crafting system can have many various stations. This system, where progression is tied to crafting stations and their upgrades, is meant to give the player better sense of agency over their progression. Being able to say, I built a titanium smelting forge, just hits a little harder than, I leveled blacksmithing from 9 to 10 today. Speaking of agency, let's talk about that. When I say agency, I'm talking about the player feeling like they are in control of what is happening. And there are a few ways that crafting systems these days take that agency away from the player. And I got 4 points that I want to talk about. First is random chance, or more commonly known as RNG. The game would see the player succeed or fail a craft based on the roll of the dice. I can think of no moment in my MMO crafting career that RNG got my blood boiling more than the crafting mastery tests in Aeon. In Aeon, not only did the player have to level their crafting skill by slogging through crafting hundreds of items that would never sell in order to finally break through to max level or master crafter, the player had to pass a mastery test. Test was a poor word to use. What it should have said was, craft this really expensive thing until you get lucky with a critical success. You see, Aeon's crafting system had a small, random critical success chance. When it triggered, the end result would be a higher quality tier of item. And the crafting mastery test, it required you to craft the highest level and often most expensive recipe and get a critical success. I won't say anything more than this was stunningly bad design. So it's safe to say there will not be any random chance in our perfect crafting system.
Yeah,
so
I
if
get that
success
out
or
there.
failure is not based on random chance, should there be a way for players to actually fail? Let's think about that. If we want the player to actually be able to fail, it would have to ultimately be the player's fault for that failure. And that means it would have
Yeah,
to
my
be a
minigame.
test of skill. I'm talking about a crafting mini game. Now, there are plenty of
Yeah.
RPGs that have mini games tied to crafting, and MMORPGs are no exception. Final Fantasy XIV Final Fantasy XIV uses a sort of minigame where the player must press crafting skill buttons in an optimal order, balancing their crafting energy versus crafting progression. And my beloved EverQuest 2 had the equivalent of Whack-A-Mole, where different issues would pop up and the player had to press the corresponding fix or risk losing crafting progress. Neither of these minigames was necessarily bad, but neither were really a test of skill either. In the end, Both of these minigames quickly became little more than a nuisance, and having a player tediously go through the same exact minigame every single craft would quickly wear out any amount of novelty that minigame may have added to the game. So suffice to say, no, the perfect crafting system will not have
I disagree with that. Because like he even said it in the examples that it's not like varied enough, and it doesn't actually test skill. So it just rolling out mini games when there's only like bad examples you show. Yeah, that's not a fair thing. I completely disagree with this.
a mini game tied to it. And that brings us to our third point on agency. Having the player, or rather the player's character, actually do the crafting. This might be a minor gripe from me personally, but there is one RPG that really irked me with its crafting system, and that game was Monster Hunter World. Don't get me wrong, the gear progression in Monster Hunter World felt good. It's almost perfect. My complaint is that I didn't get to make the gear. Yes, I know there are lore reasons why the player personally doesn't craft their own gear. And you know what? I don't care. If anyone is going to craft a weapon,
I feel like it's much better to do this, like have it that um you can pay NPC to do the crafting if you just want to do it. And or if you're fine with just doing it yourself, then yeah, play the mini game as like have the option.
called Demon Lord Hellfists, it's gonna be me. I want to craft it, not a bunch of sweaty dudes behind the
Yeah, I want to
counter.
craft it
In
too.
Monster Hunter World, the player brings materials that they have carved off their various kills to this crafting hall, where a team of guys machine up what was ordered. And it plays the exact same cutscene, no matter what item is ordered, and then the new item rolls down this ramp. There it is. The whole event just feels dull. Come on, dude. I just killed a lightning-breathing Super Saiyan ape and
Jeez.
turned its beating heart into a pair of swords
I've always
attached to
wanted
my
to play Monster
fists.
Hunter. I
Can I
haven't
get like
played
a party
any of them
popper
before.
or something? I'm not asking for a Macy's Day Parade for making a pair of Uggs, but there should be something more than this. A thumbs up, a good job, a hold the item above my head with a banana,
Yeah.
at least. Like I said, this is a small gripe, but it's a gripe that I'm clearly very passionate about. So, in the perfect crafting system, it will be the player that does the crafting. And even if it's small, there will be some measure of fanfare upon completing an item. And now for the final point on agency. Time-gated crafting. I'm looking at you,
Yeah.
Warframe! You
Yeah, bro, I played Warframe and you're when you put in a crafting mode, then you have to like wait a whole day or two just for the craft to finish. Bro, that made me mad, bro.
thought you
Annoyed
were
me.
gonna just skate on by, didn't you? You do a lot of things pretty good, but crafting ain't one of them.
Dun, 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 dun,
For
dun.
those of you not in the know, Warframe has some pretty outrageous timers on its crafting.
Jeez.
Whenever the
One of the
player wishes to
worst.
craft something, they throw the materials into this generic 3D printer, and then they wait. A few things take like 60 seconds to craft. Some take hours, and some take days.
Ridiculous.
This time gate is to incentivize players to spend premium currency to skip the crafting wait. And I could talk at length about this, but we're going to stay on target today and focus on just the crafting system. Suffice to say, time gating does not feel good, and it's definitely not going to make the player feel like they are in control. Agency and whatnot. So the perfect
Yep.
crafting system will not be using time-gated crafting. And those are my 3 ingredients that will go into making the perfect crafting system. Now, I didn't just make all of this up without a lot of extensive scrutiny of all of the games that I've played in the past, as well as a mountain of deep dives done by other very smart people. And throughout my research, there's always been one particular game that always kept popping up. Many would call it a perfect
Terraria.
game. It manages to do everything that
Even
I
as a
just
player, that's
covered
easy
in
to
regards
see.
to crafting, and that game is Terraria.
Yep.
Terraria has it all, a plethora of harvestable resources both above ground and below, a large cast of monsters, all with varied loot drops that can be used as crafting ingredients. Every ingredient is uniquely named. There is no crafting job or level or experience. Crafting progression is directly tied to what crafting stations the player has access to. There is no randomness in deciding whether or not a craft succeeds or fails. There is no crafting minigame. And the player crafts everything
At the minigame.
themselves. The one thing Terraria is missing is an actual crafting animation or fanfare when a legendary item is created. Crafting a wooden sword versus crafting the armor made from the essence of a chaos god. Ta-da! It could use just a little something, maybe. But since it gets perfect marks in all other areas, I'm gonna let that one slide. So I guess that's it. All this time to tell you that my perfect crafting system is Terraria with extra steps. But hey, at least now you know why. Thank you for listening to my mad ramblings about crafting in MMOs and RPGs. If you made it this far, why don't you leave your favorite dessert in the comments, just to confuse the people who didn't
That's
make
my
it this
favorite
far.
dessert.
If you liked what you heard and want to see more mad
Lava
ramblings,
pudding,
you should
yeah.
subscribe. And if you didn't
That's
already
how it's
know,
called, right?
I have been making my own 2D MMO for the past year and a half now called Noya.
Ooh.
You can check out some of my devlogs over here. Again, thank you. I've got to get back to work, so I'll see you all next time.
It's lava pudding, right? Yup. Chocolate lava pudding. It's a fun. I'm gonna just leave this here. Yeah, brain video. Yeah. Okay, I have okay, yeah, got this game here. 2 years. Yeah.
My name
2 years of game development. Noya Online Indie Dev MMO Devlog by Noya Dev. Also, they start this channel when he started making the game.
is Dane, and for the past 2 years I have been
Hey.
making my own MMO, Noya.
Ooh,
I'm going to take you
looks
guys on a
good.
journey and show you all the progress that's been made in the last
How old is this video? Okay, 1 year ago.
year, and I'm also going to total up all the expenses that went into it along the way. So let's get into this. Now, when I started this project, I laid out 2 rules for myself that would help keep me on track, so even on the tough days, progress would still be made. Rule number 1, no 0 days. I have to do something to move the game forward every single day. And rule number 2,
Yep.
I have to release a devlog.
I tried to do that, but I have so many things to do. Well, at least, oh well, at least have a rule that I have to do something every day. That like at least make some progress on something, whether it's on like an assignment or my own game or something like that. So yeah, I guess I have a similar rule.
Every 2 weeks. These 2 rules are set in
Wait, a devlog every 2 weeks. Damn.
forward
I feel
every
lazy.
single day. And rule number 2, I have to release a devlog every 2 weeks.
I don't think I've released a devlog for like 2 months. Uh, maybe I'll release one next month. Honestly, I don't want to send right down because my game's kind of broken. Features I wanted to show off in the game dev is, I mean, the devlog is not functioning right. So yeah.
These two rules are set in stone, no exceptions. And as you can see from my upload schedule and my Discord channels, there is no sign of me slowing down. In the first year, I
Right.
got a lot of stuff done, and Noya went live. It is currently in open alpha, and you can all play right now on web, PC, Linux, and
Ooh.
Android. A link to the itch.io page where you can play Noya, as well as a link to the year one development video, is in the description. At the end of last year, the total development cost for Noya was just under $1,300, and I had just begun work on the first instanced dungeon for Noya, the Catacombs of the Lost. So let's start there. With the general outline of the dungeon already roughed in, I wanted to populate the dungeon with a few different monster types. This dungeon is meant to teach the new players about various enemy types and mechanics.
Oh, so
The
it's
first
tutorial.
group of archers at the start here can call each other for help, and the archer mini boss has this random area attack that teaches the players to stay out of glowing circles. Further on is the cast a tree mini boss that has this wide area of attack that follows the target around. This is meant to teach the players that someone's going to get hit, so plan accordingly and aim those boss attacks away from the party. The next room teaches the final lesson of the dungeon. Some monsters can charge at you, dealing damage to everyone in the path, and the dungeon boss takes all of these lessons and combines them into one big final test. Area attacks from the
Nice.
sky, wide frontal sprays, and a devastating charge. Now that I had monsters and mechanics, I needed to give players something for actually clearing their first dungeon. Since this is the very first dungeon the players would encounter, I didn't want the players to have to grind for a weapon upgrade this early in the game. So rather than boss loot, I made a quest requiring the players to kill each one of these 3 bosses, and the player could then pick which weapon upgrade they would like. These crystal weapons are the first weapons to come with weapon skills attached. That's a special move that the player can use while they have that particular weapon equipped. The sword gets a spiky AoE, the shield gets a 50-point shield, the bow gets a piercing arrow, the wand gets this exploding crystal spike, and the staff gets a big HP regen spell. I finished up June by creating this
Healing.
admin NPC called Jeebs. Jeebs has the ability to power level players as well as reset stats. He's
Jeebs.
around just during this alpha and beta
Is that a meme? I think I've heard Jeeves before.
testing phase, so players can test
But I don't
various
remember
weapons
where.
and features quickly without having to grind levels over and over again. Now, July was a historic month for Noya. I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, there were some definite decisions made this month that would shape the future of Noya forever, namely in the art department. I'll get to that in a second. I made a small single-player story dungeon that players get to play through in order to make it out of the underworld. Here, they meet the Queen's Guardian, Halia, for the first time. After a short skirmish with Halia, the Queen herself appears and takes a particular interest in the player for some strange reason. A friend of mine also recorded the voice lines for the Queen, and she knocked it out of the park. Here's a small sample.
Oh,
You
this voice
come to
acting.
my domain, assault my servants, stir the restless dead, and now seek to leave without so much of a word to your
Very good.
host. No.
Up until now, I had been trying, and mostly failing, to make my own art for Noya. I am not an artist, and attempting to draw drains my energy faster than anything. I found some limited success using a cool program called Smack Studio to help visualize perspectives, but in the end it was just a tool, not a solution. And if I couldn't feed the tool good art to begin with, it wasn't going to magically make my art any better. Thankfully, there were a few artists really active in the art submissions channel in the Discord. 2 of them, Mao and Netherfang. They had drawn their own renditions of the Queen of the Underworld. Both were fantastic, but in the end, I could only pick one, and I really liked the direction that Mao was going. So I asked him if he'd be willing to work with me to expand on his initial drawing. We worked out a price structure and got to work. Mao further refined the Queen's sprite to what we have today, and I could not be happier. Now, despite all these awesome things happening in the art department for Noya, I was still having some issues with players getting stuck at the very beginning of the game. Players weren't really sure what to do when they got control of their character, so I wrapped up July with creating some tutorial pop-up windows that would nudge the player along in the first opening minutes of the game, teaching them about talking to NPCs, as well as the inventory and quest windows. This would definitely solve all my problems with stuck players at the beginning of the game.
Nope.
Now at the start
He recently went to a game dev meetup and showed off my game, and bro, nobody knew what to do, where to go. So it was so bad. I really need a proper tutorial.
start of August, I created a logging system for Noya. Up until now, if something happened and I wasn't looking directly at the server console, I never saw it. So I got to dip my toes into multi-threaded programming. Multi-thread programming is kind of dangerous to use, especially if you have no idea what you're doing, like me, for instance. But thankfully, I wasn't going to be using it for anything too complicated. I just needed to spin off a second thread to write logs to the server hard disk. My first attempt at writing a logger did not go well. After generating 1 million test events, my code managed to write only 100,000 lines to the disk in 30 seconds. That's really
Wow.
bad. After getting slapped around on Reddit for a few hours, I learned how to properly write large
Yeah, 'cause
amounts
it's-
of logs to a file, and my
I
next
do way
iteration
better
of the
than that.
logger wrote all 1 million entries in 4 seconds. Much
Ooh,
better.
nice.
Thanks, Reddit. With that done,
It's
I started
always
adding
Reddit,
log
bro.
entries for pretty much everything.
If you have a problem with code, Reddit is your solution. If it's not in on Reddit, it's nowhere else. Like, don't even think AI can help you, because AI learns from Reddit. That's why they get the solutions. If Reddit can help you, no, no, no website's gonna help you.
Combat, chat, potential exploits, everything. You name it, I got logs for it. While this was going on, there was also a lot more people that were starting to throw art submissions into the Discord for Noya. And while that is good, not a lot of the submissions really work for Noya's art style. And then I realized no one knew what Noya's art style was, including me. So I reached back out to Mao for help. Here's the thing about Mao. He isn't just a pixel artist. He's a career artist. He's done children's books, backgrounds, concept art, animation,
professional.
tattoos, everything. Mao was going to help me in creating a solidified art style for Noya. And over the next few weeks, Mao and I went over everything. Player sprites, overhauling a bunch of monster sprites, adding to the color palette, and a new look for Halia as well. After all of that, Mao created what I'm calling the Noya Art Design Doc, a comprehensive set of rules and guidelines for creating art for Noya. September was a
Wow.
fun month because I got to do code stuff, and I like doing code stuff. I whipped up a simple friends system, so now players can right-click and add one another to their friends lists. Simple as that. The friends window allows for easy party invites and chatting, nothing too crazy. What was crazy was the next thing I made, the mobile UI for Noya. It was always part of the plan to have an Android and iOS client for Noya someday, but I was getting more and more requests for a mobile client, so I figured, why not now? My issue was a matter of UI real estate. The web and PC clients have this 10-button hotbar that works really well for web and PC, but would be way too small for mobile. Luckily, someone already solved this issue for me. Maple M. They
Yes.
too have a
Wow.
10-button hotbar system, but they split the hotbar into 2 sets of 5 with a swap button to
Oh.
flip between each set of 5 hotkeys. Pretty good idea. So I implemented that same idea into my own mobile UI. That way, no matter what platform the players are on, the hotkey count stays the same. And with that, Noya now had a rudimentary mobile client for Android devices. Why no iOS client? Well, I don't have a Mac, and you need a Mac in order to compile an iOS client. So, no
Yeah.
iOS client yet. Also,
I also wanted to put my game on what's it called, on the Mac, but yeah,
So in September, I reached
Same
back out to
problem.
Clockwork Raven to commission him to start work on a beehive-themed tile set for an upcoming dungeon that I had planned. If you haven't watched the first year devlog, let me explain. Clockwork Raven is the artist for all the world tile sets that I use for Noya, and I like to support him via Patreon, hence the $10 every month. I've commissioned him for art in the past, namely the Underworld tile set and the Noya logo, so while Raven got started on the beehive tile set, I got to work on making some more class-defining skills for each of the 4 weapon types. Wand users got a new mark and recall ability to give themselves some strategic mobility, while inside this circle they get a nice DPS buff, and if they cast the skill again, they teleport back to the center of the circle. If you play Final Fantasy XIV, you can probably see where I got the inspiration for this spell. Bow users gained a battery of traps that they can play around with to either immobilize their target or just deal some extra damage. Sword wielders got their first taunt and a charge ability to quickly initiate battles, and the staff, in keeping with the light-based caster trope, gained a big friggin' laser beam. How is that a healer spell? Well, the way I see it, killing monsters faster keeps the party alive. These new skills were meant to
main
bring
logic.
out the individual personality of each weapon type, and I think they worked out pretty good. Moving on. Now that I had a mobile client for the game, I was able to get some feedback from my family. They all knew I was making a game, but they never really had a chance to play it yet. Watching them stumble through the start of the game pointed out some more glaring issues. Number one, for mobile specifically, there was nothing to indicate if something was interactable or not. On web and PC clients, players can mouse over objects and they highlight, but there's no mouse on mobile. So I made a proximity collider for all objects and a text pop-up to show what button to press. This also helps with players who get stuck in the beginning seconds of the game. Not everyone understood they were supposed to talk to Dan, the talking skull here. And now if they try and walk off, a short cutscene plays that forces the player directly back in front of Dan, and that new interaction pop-up will happen. I don't necessarily like to use cutscenes to force a player action, but this one time I think it's the right decision. Another issue that popped up is while questing, there was no indication on progress being made on said quest. I had this tiny quest tracker at the top right-hand corner of the screen, but it's really easy to miss, so to fix this I added a small text pop-up that appears whenever there is progress on a quest objective. Speaking of quests, I was also able to get a ton of quests in the game for the forest map, 5 entire quest lines actually. There's a secret hidden quest line to find out what's eating all the fish in the river, Rhonda and her glamping adventure, Norman and Elva and their sunflower farm, and the Sprites and Fairies quest line. Norman's quests and the fairy quest both tie into the main storyline of Noya, or at least into the main storyline of the forest. The bees of the hive are getting a bit more aggressive day by day, and it's up to the player to discover why. And if you thought that I would make a questline about bees and not make all the quest names bee puns, boy are you in for a bad time. I am a dad, and I'm gonna make it everybody's problem. Players even get to turn into a cute little bee so they can safely explore the hive. Yep. I added transformations into Noya. Not only is it fun to be able to transform into different creatures and use those creatures' abilities, but I can also use these transformations in the future if I want to give the player a chance to play through, say, a flashback as a powerful historical figure, rather than just watching a cutscene. I'm pretty excited to play around with these transformations in the future. In November, I created what I call ring events, or at least that's what they were called in EverQuest 2. In EverQuest 2, there were these certain monsters that just seemed a little out of place, and when the player killed them, they would trigger a couple waves of monsters, culminating in a boss fight. And now, we have the same thing for Noya. There were a few issues getting it to work, nothing I couldn't handle. It definitely works now, and I can sprinkle all these hidden bosses throughout the world. Not every boss will be hidden behind a ring event, but it is a nice tool to have. I also made everyone's favorite quest type, escort quests.
Burn him at the stake.
Wait, I can explain. The escort NPC takes on the player's movement speed, so none of this too slow nonsense, and the NPC is invulnerable during the quest, so the player only has to worry about themselves. The
I forgave him for now.
Quest NPC, however, will stop following if there's, say, an ambush that just so happens to occur, and the player will have to deal with that first before moving on. In December, I added more quest features to Noya. There's this capture quest where the players have to whittle a monster's HP down to 25% and then use a capture item on the monsters. This is currently used in game with the sprite NPC Chantrell wants the players to capture frogs in hopes that one of them turns out to be a prince. Spoilers, they're just normal frogs. But the pixie NPC Lily feels that she can turn this problem into an opportunity, and she wants you, the player, to teach the frogs how to sing. This is another quest type I added, a way for quest objectives to be required to be completed in a specific order, or risk the quest resetting. This will be useful later on for something like a race, where I want the players to hit specific goal markers in order, or in the case of these frogs, the player must interact with them
Nice.
in order to get them to sing in the proper order.
Yeah, I was building it. It's great. It's very customizable. Hold on. Yeah, so I think things will be like easy in the future.
Right around now, Clockwork Raven had just finished work on the Beehive tile set. But I didn't want to work on the Beehive dungeon just yet. Don't know why, just didn't. So instead I made a shiny new game feature instead, a map. This actually took a bit of work to figure out. The map isn't just a pre-rendered image of an area, it's actually a live feed of the area projected to the map window in a fancy term called render texture. I never could get the trigonometry figured out to get the render texture aspect ratio to fit the exact size of whatever area the map was looking at, but you know what could? Cinemachine. Cinemachine is
Yeah.
Unity's advanced camera controller, and once I installed it, it took maybe 20 minutes to get the map window working perfectly. After that, I made this little indicator to show the player where they were on the map, and done. Working map. It isn't perfect, it still shows other adjacent areas if they're a little too close, but I can fix that later. Wrapping up December, I added something everyone had been asking for, the ability to get more inventory slots. Enter Penny Pocket, the purveyor of perfectly
Penny
produced
Pocket.
player pockets, and the genius inventor of Penny Pocket's portable pneumatic personal pentapocket producer, patent pending,
Oh, wow.
otherwise known as the for short. The player inventory window can also now be expanded sideways to see all inventory slots at once, so if they don't want to scroll up and down. Maybe one day I'll put in some sort of sorting options. That's not today though. January. Art was done in January. I was working very closely with
okay.
Mao for several weeks, going over various concepts for 2 of the 3 B bosses in the Hive dungeon, when out of nowhere comes this newcomer from Discord with a metal chair, Mr. Fox. At this point, I had an arts request section in the Discord that players could see what sort of sprites I was looking for, and the only thing Mr. Fox had to go on was the boss name that I had picked, the Behemoth. And he cooked up this absolute unit of a boss. Look at it! Mr. Fox and I further refined his original artwork down to what we have in game today. And I gotta tell you, I had a blast coming up with attacks for this boss. Slams, punches, uppercuts, honey spray, honey elemental adds. It was so much fun. I spent most of January working on the Beehive dungeon and closely working with Mr. Fox and Mao to fine-tune the look of all 3 of these bosses, the Nurse, the Behemoth, and the Hive Queen. And in the end, this is the look that we chose for all 3 of them. The Nurse is a pacifist and doesn't actually fight. She only runs away and summons adds. The Behemoth is an absolute brute and will just smash players into the ground. And the Hive Queen, while stationary, is no pushover. She is capable of sending ranged scythe attacks anywhere in her throne room, and she's constantly knocking back players into the honey pools along the sides of her throne room, and summoning adds all at the same time. It is mass pandemonium. I had to create a few new game mechanics for these bosses. Add summons, player knockback, reset monster movement pass. None of that stuff existed yet, and I had a lot of fun coding all of those new boss mechanics. And now that I have them, I can use those abilities in future boss fights. I also added this
Nice.
waist-high water effect for when players are wading through these honey pools. Turned out pretty good, I think. And wrapping up January, I added a few quests the players can do to help out around the hive if they enter while disguised as a fuzzy little bee. These quests also serve to add a bit more to the lore of Noya. I continued working on the boss mechanics through February until at one point I just said, I don't want to look at the beehive anymore. I want a new map. So I made the Iron Mine. This map is where the players first learn about crafting and harvesting materials. And in order for the players to craft stuff, they needed a crafting system. So I joyously distracted myself from the beehive dungeon by creating Noya's crafting system. I took inspiration from one of my favorite games to create the crafting mechanics, Terraria. I actually made a whole video about why I think Terraria has one of, if not the best RPG crafting systems. Check it out
Yeah,
if you want
watch
to
the
hear the
whole video,
ramblings
yep.
of a madman. Anyway, using Terraria as
Just watch
inspiration,
that
I
one.
laid out the rules for Noya's crafting mechanics. Players will be able to have their own crafting stations in town, or perhaps even in their homes at some point, but various crafting stations can also be found out in the wild. There is a cooking pot in Norman and Elva's house, and in the Iron Mine there is a forge and an anvil. I whipped up this crafting animation taking inspiration from another one of my favorite games, Odin Sphere. Upon clicking the craft button, all of the ingredients surround the player for a moment before condensing into these little balls of light and diving into the crafting station. Pretty cool, right? Using the resources around the Iron Mine, the player is able to craft iron weapons, which can then be later upgraded using loot from the Beehive dungeon to bee-themed weapons. I continued working on the Iron Mine and its quests. Inside the Iron Mine, the players can meet these 3 OSHA certified iron
Fuck,
miners,
looks
Gib,
right.
Malls, and Dane. At this point, Gib and Malls were just placeholder NPCs, but I used Dane as an instructor for mining. Dane offers a quest to the player to get coal from these soot sprites that bear a striking resemblance to something. Can't put my finger on it though, but upon completing these simple
Lot of
tasks, the
inspirations.
player is rewarded with a second-hand mining tool. This tool can break the iron ore rocks, but very slowly. The idea is the player can use their newly mined iron to craft themselves a working iron pick, which will break the iron rocks a lot faster. Using this mechanics, I can set harvesting speeds depending on what tier of tool the player is using against that particular node. So, tools 1 tier lower will still work, just slowly, and it's in the player's best interest to get the higher tier harvesting tool as soon as they can. With mining and
That's
crafting
like
in a good spot, I
Minecraft.
started populating the mine map with some monster placeholders and quests. Players can go around and reconstruct these mine carts around the area to serve as fast travel spots. And there's a small quest line involving a giant spider infestation. Have fun with that. In April, I worked a ton on quality of life and polish. Monster Corpse loot indicators, loot pop-up lines showing the player what they looted, additional shortcut icons on the hotbar, a remember me checkbox on the login screen, a disclaimer pop-up on login, monster difficulty indicators, and stat breakdowns indicating where stat bonuses were coming from. And most exciting to me, I added this small voiced dialogue box in the top right hand corner. This feature is in a lot of different games, but the one that I first remember noticing it in is a game called Firefall. The player would get a mission, and rather than just sitting and reading a wall of text, a voiced soundbite would play with the NPC explaining the mission. This was great. I didn't
Yeah.
have to read, and I got to hear about cool lore stuff. So I implemented this same system into the quest system in Noya. But more importantly, I used it a lot in the starting map to enhance Advance, the tutorial. This NPC, Dan, the Talking Skull, is meant to be the player's tutorial/guide. The player even takes Dan along on their quest to escape the underworld. I tried to come up with a good voice for Dan, and the best I could do was emulate a popular voice actor, Jeff Hayes, specifically Jeff's rendition of the game guide Mordecai in the book Dungeon Crawler Carl.
I'm like you. I'm a person whose world was displaced. This was many, many solars ago. I was a dungeon crawler just like you. I made it all the way down to floor 11, and I knew I would never make it any further than that.
Well, this is certainly unexpected. How long has it been since a soul landed here? 1,000? 2,000 years? It isn't a perfect one-for-one, but I feel I can get better, and trying to do voice work doesn't hurt my soul as much as trying to do pixel art. So, Dan can now instruct players on basic gameplay mechanics throughout the starting map, how to talk to people, accept quests, monster difficulty, etc. I kept working on quality of life updates through May as well, mostly in regards to UI font. Turns out, not everybody likes the font that I had chosen for UI. Who knew that not everyone would like a pixel font? So I came up with a solution to be able to dynamically swap out important text boxes with various fonts on demand. In the preferences menu, I created this drop-down with a few different font options, including some sans serif fonts for those with dyslexia. When the player selects a different font, it will change most of the important windows, namely the NPC dialogue, tooltips, the stat window, and quest window.
It doesn't change.
Buttons
Okay, so it
get a
doesn't change
little
everything.
wonky when trying to swap out fonts, so those don't change. I also worked
It's-
with Mao and Netherfang to update the player sprite. Again, the player sprite always had this flat look to it, while all of the tile sets had what they called a 3/4 perspective. I'm not an artist, I don't know what that means, but I trust their judgment. So to make sure that everything matched, we redesigned the player sprite to match the
Like
3/4 perspective.
it looks
along
3D,
with all of the armor and
basically.
hair. While
Well,
we were
almost
doing
3D.
that, I realized that the way that the game is now, hair and helmets could not be displayed at the same time. So I had to make a separate slot specifically for hair, and I created a sprite mask for each individual helmet item. By doing this, I was able to layer the helmet sprite over the hair sprite, and the result was pretty good. Now the players can keep their hair and their armor at the same time, even if the hair sprite is technically larger than the helmet. And yes, before you ask, there will be a way to hide the helmet if the players want. One of the final things that I did in the year was start on the next major map, the Deep Forest, using Clockwork Raven's Green Forest 2 tile set. This will be the first open world group-oriented content for Noya, meaning
Oh,
players will
nice.
definitely want to be in a full party to adventure in this map, but they can do so right alongside other player parties. This map will continue the main storyline from the previous forest map, so I hope you guys are ready to form up some parties and fight some tougher monsters. As of now, I only have this rough outline of how I want the map to be laid out, and this small little section that I've fully detailed out to get an idea of what it will all look like in the future. And that's it. Year 2 done.
Nice.
Looking back, there's so much stuff that got done. I'm honestly really surprised, and I got to talk about so much stuff in this devlog, but there's so much stuff that I actually didn't even get to cover. Originally, I thought that I would only be able to get one map done every 6 months or so, and I got 3 done this year, and a good head start on a 4th. Most importantly, though, from the bottom of
That's
my
pretty
heart,
good.
thank you all for being with me on this journey. Truly, thank you. It has been an absolute
Damn, I just noticed the consoles on the wall. Oh, so did he like take the insides out and then like put them then the like casing is the top of the casing, the bottom casing. Yeah, that's pretty
absolute
cool.
wild ride these last 2 years. And if you're just discovering this project now and you like what you see, consider subscribing. It really does help get the name
Already
of Noya out
subscribed.
there, so we have a bigger community of players to play with. And if you're already subscribed, why don't you leave your favorite RPG title down in the comments? for the algorithm. I gotta
Favorite
get back to
RPG.
work.
Mm,
I'll see you next time. Bye.
third video. Satchio's favorite RPG. Yeah, I don't know. To answer you, man, that's for a game of details. I have an ad blocker. Sorry. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I don't want to watch this one. Okay, I'm going to keep this one here because I'll going to play that game later.
This is not an indie game. This is
Okay, quick rant. I'm really annoyed on how the word indie game is being used. Like, bro, there's games that are 100% are not indie games. You you cannot even argue that they're indie games, and yet like these big ass companies are calling them indie games. And then you know what the dumbest thing I've heard is triple indie games. Bro, we have a name for that. It's called double A games. It's literally because of money, bro. That's why they're doing this, and it's irritating. So check out this video, and let's see if she brings the correct way to define indie games, because it's being used so wrong right now. Bro, I hate that. Yeah, I hate this. Yeah, actually, these aren't indie games by Samyam.
This is not an indie game. This is also not an indie game, and this is definitely not an indie game. Now, before this becomes a pirate software situation, for far too long, we've been throwing around the word indie, just like everything nowadays has AI. At some point, we don't even know what it actually means.
Yep.
So in an effort to stop $10 million budget games from winning indie awards and stealing the spotlight, I, a
So
certified
stupid.
bedroom indie developer, outraged by this situation, proposed
Yes.
a new mathematical metric
Indies unite against this what's it called? Damn, I messed up my words.
to determine what the true definition of
This
indie
cannot be
is,
allowed.
to finally settle all of the Reddit discussions once and for all. And folks, we might ruffle some feathers. Might. Hair. I call it the indie score, which proves that most games calling themselves indies nowadays actually are not. But before we start cooking, what are even the ingredients that make up an indie game? Let's find out. Should it be this new game called Mixtape with a supposed multi-million-dollar budget, a huge publisher, licensed
No.
music, and a whopping 10 review score from IGN? Or should it go to the crazy guy who spent over 4 years making all of the code, art, and music, living off of his savings, who then struck it big? Or the indie dev receiving $200,000 from an indie publisher to continue making games in their mom's basement? That blows. It's a joke to a guy. The guy who made this calls Jonathan Blows. Well, according to the literal definition of indie games, which are games made without a financial and technical backing of a major corporate publisher, all of these technically meet the requirement. Well, I wonder what this one is. But by this definition, EA, Valve, and Epic are also all indie studios because nobody
Yeah,
owns
so
them.
it's terrible
It's like calling
definition.
a billionaire self-made because they don't have a boss. And we all know EA is anything but indie. Well, maybe an indie wallet drainer. Now the problem is, and really it's a good problem to have, is that it's now much easier than ever for people to publish games without a publisher, and that's largely thanks to Mr. Gabe right here, where it only costs
Lord
$100
Gaben.
to put a game on Steam. Which, by the way, you should totally get my own game on there. See how cute the little cats are? It runs on your desktop. Okay, I'm gonna go back now. And while the landscape of the game industry has been ever evolving, maybe in not so good ways, we haven't really updated the definition of indie to match,
Yeah,
which is causing some
it's-
companies to abuse it
Yeah,
because apparently
so that's the main problem because the definition was made so long ago and hasn't been updated. No one's being abused.
It's trendy to pretend that you're poor when you actually are not. Is this gaslighting? Maybe. But the reality is that there's a lot of different things we humans, yes, I am a human, subconsciously look at when labeling a game, like judging someone's house by their front door. I mean, it's valid. Do they have a huge team of white guys, usually? A lot of money. And does it really make you feel indie?
So that's what it feels like.
Okay. Now, all of these are valid, but very vague questions because really they depend on what our preconceived biases are, which is why no one can seem to decide what the heck an indie game actually is. It's why Claire Obscura 33 with an expedition of 30 people, with an expedition, what the heck? With tons of ex-AAA developers, a budget of around $10 million Roonies, and a 6-year development timeline won Best Indie Game at the Game Awards in 2025. The publisher's own CEO called it blurring the line, and then it won Game of the Year award and the Best Debut at the Indie Game Awards. They basically won all the awards, which it's a great game, but it's not an indie game. But this was before they found out they used AI textures in the game, and then they had both awards revoked. Whoopsies. Swear.
Yeah, so
In my
dumb,
eyes, yes. Look into my eyes. This is not an indie game, and honestly calling it one is disrespectful. Not everything needs to be humble, okay? Sometimes we just gotta be honest with ourselves. That's what I learned in therapy. So to come up with the best and most accurate indie scoring system ever, we first gotta talk about tiers. And for that, we need the big pointer. That's cringe. Now, usually we just have
Very.
indie, AA, and then a AAA. AA typically
Yes.
has moderate budgets of around $2 to $20 million-ish, which is pocket change, and usually bigger team sizes of over 50 people. Life is Strange, Helldivers 2, and A Plague Tale:
Plague
Innocence
Tale
are all very
Innocence,
good
yep.
examples of this. This is a great game, by the way. AAA games have much bigger budgets now, $100 to $200 million Roonies, with hundreds of thousands of developers like GTA 6. Well, this one might be quadruple A. That doesn't sound nice though. Call of Duty or The Last of Us. But this isn't the last you heard of me. This hurts my eyes. But indie is different. Because when you're working with lower budgets and smaller teams, the gap between one person with nothing and a studio with $10 million is massive. Way bigger than the gap between AA and AAA. See what I did there? I added an A. It's just a difference of one key on the keyboard, really. So we can't just call every game an indie game. So I propose dividing it into two labels. Indie and indie plus. But how do we decide what game gets put into what label? Well, that's actually pretty easy. We just use a scoring system, which I thought was a neat idea by this Reddit user. Just like medical tests determine if you have something with check marks, which might be why healthcare sucks a lot of the time, actually. We'll have symptoms of our indie games that we'll check off, and if they pass a certain score, they'll be bumped up to that label. I don't know why I put this meme here in retrospect. But deciding the categories are the controversial part and the reason no one can agree on a definition. So after looking at a lot of Reddit posts, because that's the best place to find people arguing, we'll have 4 categories with numbered scores in each. The higher score you get, the more indie you are. This is the scoring system. If they score 6 and above, they're indie, the cool kids club, aka me. 3 to 5 is Indie Plus.
Hey, my
you still
team.
graduate with honors, while AA is 2 to -1. Great games, but not quite scrappy enough. And anything below -1, congratulations, you have a marketing budget bigger than some countries. You're AAA. Off with you. Oh, I'm sorry. Ow, my hip. But back to the small pointer, creative direction. The first category is arguably the most important one, and I guess what comes closest to vibes. really? Do the developers enact their vision, or are the bigwigs deciding how to maximize profit? If the studio has full control over the game, that should be worth 2 points. But if it shares control with the publisher, it amounts to 0 points. 0, 0, 0. And if the publisher is pulling the strings, that should be -2 points, meaning the bigger the score, the more indie the game is. Now, teamwork makes the dream work, but too many cooks can spoil the indie broth. So for our next ingredient, if you have a micro team of 5
sandwich.
people or less, it should be a good indication that you are very indie. So 3 points to Gryffindor. From 6 to 15 people, 2 points to Hufflepuff. Then from 16 to 30 people, that's kind of the equivalent of a corporate midlife crisis, so you only get 1 point, Slytherin. And from 31 to 50, there are 0 handouts here.
Handouts.
51 to 100 people means you are a full-fledged studio now, so now we're dipping into the negatives. And it's pretty chill down here at -1. And plus 100 people is not a team anymore. It's a logistical nightmare, so -2 points. Now that we're feeling confident, let's talk about money. Moolah. Third up, how is a game funded? Is it bootstrapped, or are you stocking up to VCs? See, the true definition when we say indie game is underdog energy. Did they rise from nothing? Are they cutting through the waves and going against the tide? And do they even care about their own sanity? If the game is being backed by a major publisher or a venture capitalist, then I'm sorry, but these are more top dog energy. And we're putting that at -2 points. If you do have a publisher, but it's an indie publisher, I think that's okay, because in most cases you're still a small team with creative control, but you are still receiving money from a corporate entity, so we'll give 0 points to that. Now let's say we have games like Hades 2, Silksong, or Slay the Spire 2, where all of their first games made a ton of bank, but it was their own money at the end of the day. They are still self-publishing with a lot of success, so +1 point. If the game is crowdfunded, which usually means you don't have other funding to pull from, unless you launch a Kickstarter when you're already rich, which is ethically ambiguous at best, then we'll put that at +2 points. And I am in the way. This is the scoring system. And taking the crown at +3 points is when you're raw dogging it. Oh my god, what the heck happened? And funding the game yourself with your life savings or your 9-to-5 job, which is very respectable, but also very difficult. And finally, we have the budget category. Where's the money, Lebowski? Why isn't it playing?
I love this meme.
Which can honestly make or break what is considered an indie game. And since we have different classifications of indie, smaller budgets get higher scores. I think the math is right for this. So if you have a shoestring budget of less than $50,000, that is pure indie grit at +3 points. Now some of you may say, wow, 50K is a lot of money, and it is, depending where you're from, but assuming you have to hire artists and music people and also fund your living expenses, it can go by pretty fast. Now from 50K to 200K, we got +2 points. From 200 to 500,000, +1 points. From 500,000 to 1 million, you are seriously pushing the indie boundary here, so 0 points. And anything over $1 million, that's going from 6-7 figures, which means negative. -2 points for being unfunny. Because let's face it, most indie devs will never see this amount of money in their lifetime, unfortunately. Now notice I didn't include vibes or development time. A lot of people say, well, the game feels indie, so it must be. which usually would mean it's different than what's considered normal. Like Hollow Knight had an unconventional art style and story. It just feels more personal, a little rough, and ambitious. Like me. Subscribe. But then that excludes the super polished games like Manor Lords, created by one guy over 7 years with an epic mega grant, or games that are designed to milk out money. And since this metric isn't
Quicker
really
games.
measurable, and we are doctors trying to find the patient's illness, we can't just go on vibes, because then they die. And some people are hypochondriacs also. So that's the full indie score with 4 total categories. And I actually made a website, well, a calculator, where you can put the game stats in and it'll tell you if the game is considered indie or not. It even
Ooh.
has different games that you can use as an example. You can also change the values themselves to see if it would change the tier that the game falls into. The link is in the description, and there you can sign up to my newsletter where I give some secret sauce tips and tricks on game development, and I have some really exciting news dropping there soon. Also, I cannot stress this enough. This is all personal opinion, just in case some people go crazy.
I
You know
agree
who
with
you
your
are.
opinion.
Now let's put the indie score to the test with some popular and controversial examples to see if you agree. So let's start off with our first patient and the obvious one, just to make sure it works. Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley.
Solo developer Concerned Ape spent around 4.5 years developing this with barely any budget and no publisher. The post-success of the game doesn't really count when determining if the development was indie or not. So let's pass
Of
it
course.
through the indie score. Look at that animation. Wow. For creative control, a full +2 points with a team of 1 person +3 points, and with a funding source of his own pocket and a day job at the movie theater, that's +3 points. Along with a funding amount of under $50,000, that's another 3 points. Now obviously this guy is very indie at +11 points, and if we had a third indie category, he would qualify as a bedroom indie, which is the ultimate tier of underdog energy. Then we have Hollow Knight. Now Hollow Knight
I thought
is
it would be
obviously
Basement Dweller.
unquestionably indie, but let's run it through the score. Now they did have full creative control at +2 points, a team of 3 people at +3 points, but they did crowdsource the game. So they made a Kickstarter and raised about 57,000 Australian dollars, or around 40,000 US dollars with today's conversion. So we get +2 for crowdfunding, and for the budget we get +3 since it's technically under the $50,000 threshold, totaling 10
Yeah.
points, which is full on
Because going
indie
in US,
power.
not Canadian.
Those were the easy ones. Now is where it starts to get interesting. Silksong is the follow-up to Hollow Knight. Now, while they did have full creative control at +2 points, kept a small team of around 3 people +3 points, their funding source
Same
was
as
now
three
from a
guys.
very successful previous game, which is only +1, another point. And with a development budget of around $9 million. Nothing to scoff at.
Damn.
That bumps it down by 2, totaling 4 points, if I did my math right. 5, 6, 4, yes. Graduating the once indie team to Indie Plus. Well done, Team Cherry. Then there's Hades 2, made by Supergiant Games. They are not tiny, they are giant. Giant full of cash. Now, while they do have full creative control at +2 points, this is where the water starts to get muddied a little bit with a team size of around 25 people. The largest thus far, landing them in our corporate midlife crisis bracket of +1 point. And by being funded by the success of their previous game, Hades, that's only +1 points. They also had a huge budget of over $20 million, which negs them 2 points, landing them in the AA category. Sorry to break it to you, fanboys.
Not surprised.
It's not really indie anymore. Then there's Mixtape, Trigger Warning, a questionable game that has everyone's panties in a twist. People were heralding them for being an indie game and producing
Such an industry
unquestionable
plant.
masterpiece of a game, but looks can be deceiving. Now, while they did have full creative control at +2, a team size of around a dozen people, another +2 points, they did get corporate cash from Annapurna. While well known, it's not a major corporate one, so we're just gonna get 0 points for that. They also had a supposed budget of like $5 million, which that's not very indie of them, is it? So at a score of 2, they've crossed into the AA threshold.
That's exactly
now
what I
we're
thought they
getting
were.
into batteries. I should have said that before. Cuphead, a masterpiece and so freaking hard, oh my gosh, is one you might not be able to predict.
Yep,
It was
that's true.
developed and published by an independent Canadian studio called Studio MDHR, which they just announced a new game, by the way. It was initially self-funded, so they did have full creative control. They had an initial team size of 2 brothers, but later expanded to around 14 to 19 people after it blew up, in a good way, at E3. So we'll have to give it only 1 point there. While it was initially bootstrapped, they ended up quitting their jobs and remortgaging their homes to get enough capital to hire a team, which is literally insane.
Wow.
Then they got an exclusive Microsoft deal for a lot of money in exchange for console exclusivity on the Xbox for some time. Now this one is tricky because we don't know the exact number, but it's gonna be a lot. So it's -2. And it also counts as a major publisher. They initially had a budget of $150,000, but over 7 years of development, it turned into like 7 million. So that's another
Jeez.
-2 points. And with a total score of -1, it lands Cuphead in the battery
Double A.
territory. AA.
Yep.
It's got the spirit, but it got ahead of itself. Ahead. Cuphead. Okay. Now I might get a lot of hate
Next.
for this, but Baldur's Gate 3 is another interesting case full of sunshine. While it may look like a AAA game and be better than most AAA games, to be
No, it's a
fair,
AA
it's
game.
actually independently run by Larian, I don't know, studio, a very well-known
Larian
studio with a team
Studios.
size of around 400 developers. So while they do have creative control, they have
400,
a
then.
huge team size, so that bumps it down by 2. They also have previously successful games to fund this current one, and the game costs around only $100 million to make. So needless to say, that's -2 points. So it lands it in, drumroll please, at a -1. Honestly, you could have just done the math while I was doing that. Considering it a AA game, just teetering on the edge of AAA, but
With the exception to Cuphead, because I didn't know the information in Cuphead, I actually got all of them right.
not quite.
The scores they're getting is exactly what I
And
thought they
if
would get.
Baldur's Gate is on the edge, let's look at some of the games that have absolutely fallen off of the indie cliff. Now, GTA 6 is obviously a AAA game. We don't need to discuss this. And while Rockstar does make their own games, it's pretty much a bunch of bigwigs with board of directors sweating over profit margins, so that lands it at -2. Team size, yeah, the funding source is actually from Take-Two Interactive, a huge AAA publisher, -2 points. And money,
Yep.
you don't even want to know. -2, -8. That is so quadruple A. We got a new indie definition before GTA 6. Now, under the
Amazing.
current definition of indie, Fortnite is an indie game, which is obviously not right.
Yeah.
So let's do the math to fix that. Some fun math. Now, the difference here is that Epic does have full creative control of their product, so that's +2 points. But their team size is hundreds of people, so we take away those 2 points we so generously offered them.
Back to
And while
zero.
they do fund it themselves, they are considered a multi-billion-dollar tech giant. So, let's do -2. And budget lets them make skins of popular artists every other month. That's -2, obviously, putting them in the AAA category with -4 points. Shocker.
Yep.
And saving the
So-
best for last. Claire Obscura Expedition 33,
Double
developed
A.
by Sandfall Interactive. Let's see if they really deserve those indie awards. While they have full creative control at +2 points, they did have a team size of around 33 people, which is pretty indie, but unfortunately does not give them any extra points under our scoring system. Now they did have a publisher, Kepler Interactive, albeit it's not a huge corporate one, so we'll give it 0 points for that. And finally, a $10 million budget, which subtracts the 2 from the total score, equaling 0
Zero.
points and landing it in the AA tier.
Knew it. I knew it.
It's fair. They're not indie. They are not. So you can see I actually reverse engineered the scoring system a bit by working off of examples and kind of seeing which game fit which category the best. So kind of vibes, but more technical. In the end, indie or not, what matters in the industry more is this indie energy, because we are tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. Stop shoving live service games down our throat with loot boxes, please. The indie label exists to protect the underdogs, the people pulling 80-hour weeks from their bedrooms, making something weird and personal with not really much safety net. They deserve to relish in these 5 letters, indie. I don't know where it's going to be placed. And if you're making a game in your bedroom right now, just like me, I have the perfect video for.
Ooh, that's what I was watching this one. But not now though. I'll subscribe. A great video. I don't want to play what's it called SnowRunner now. I want to get the what do I call it? I want to get to the tower before I stream. Not tower, garage. Yeah, garage is what I meant. Change real quick. SnowRunner. I'll find a more efficient way to do this. Remit to and the last one. Well, SnowRunner is not even open, so like it takes forever to, to open it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I just finished the last one. Great. Okay, hopefully it won't take me long to find this. It's at the bottom of the map. It's going to take me forever to find it. What did I do? No controller. Damn, did I mess up the settings? Yeah, I don't know what I did. Gonna have to play with the keyboard. Where was I? Oh yeah, this is the other map. So, oh damn, knock again. What the- Wasn't it the... Oh yeah, I'm not on this map, that's why. Where's the Zix? And where's this thing again? Okay, so, which turn should I take? I think, oh, you know what? Go through the ice, yeah, that's what I'll do. Yeah, let's get this done. I doubt I have time for the logs. I think if there's time left, I'll do the logs after the thingy. Yeah, after the get the garage. One. Jeez, this snow's ridiculous. Come on, 6. What's it again? It's tab. V? Yeah, there we go. Oh, come on. What did I press? Okay, it's attached. What's the button to reel it in? Hold on. Yes, now going with the wrong controls. Okay, R is release. Oh, F shows right there. I'm stupid. I go over this with the Zix. Nah. I think I go over the side. So I don't tip it over. Go to the side, yeah. So I don't tip over. Come on, go up. This is why I love the Zigs, man. Hey, look at this. It's easy. Give it to the ice. Where's the best place to cross? If I think by those rocks there. Then, yep. Okay, great. Then I think these ones are gonna fall. Oh, they're not? Okay. Wait. Okay, there's a road that side. How can I just... Wait, okay, let me just go through the... This is the road. Ah, did I not refuel first? Ugh, God. Should have refueled before I left. Honestly, I think I was better off just taking a shortcut. This path is terrible. Okay, what's side? Yeah, I'm not even on the road. Is the opening here? Ugh. Think maybe the side? So I have to go through some rocks. Okay, let me go to the side until I find an opening. Come on. Come on. Yes. Where are these rocks? This is all like, yeah, this is all water, so I can't use this way. Oh, there's ice this side though. Okay, let me keep going. Stop. Jeez. The fact that I didn't tip there is amazing. Okay, come on, now you tell me I'm stuck. Okay, this one then. There we go. It's R. I don't know. It's going too much back. Jeez. Okay, now can I scale this? Come on, Zix. Sticking rock along the cliff. Please turn right. Yes. Okay. Okay, let me make it daytime. So route this way. Ooh, the upgrade. Nice. Okay, so this is the road. It's gonna follow it down. I think there's just fresh water there. Oh wait, there's ice. Okay, I'll follow the road down. Hopefully I don't run out of fuel. Like I have refills, but don't know how long I have to go without refueling. Without getting another fuel source. Yeah, getting closer. Cool. Yeah, I'm taking this road. Okay, so turn left. Yeah. I'll get to the ice as quickly as possible. It's quicker to go through the ice than it is to drive on the snow. And drive on the ice than it is drive on the snow. So many trees. See where I am. Okay. Um, what's the button again? F. Where can I attach? There's no way I can use to spin me. Okay, maybe forward. Come on, turn me. There you go. Yeah, got it. See a lot of cracks. Okay, now where's my path? Here? Uh, but though, do I want to cross now? Me, wait, yeah, it's on the other side, so I should cross, honestly. Okay, there's a bridge here. How do I get down? Okay, I'm on the right track. Oh, damn. Okay, it's good. Yes, it looks. Okay. Want to avoid sitting in the water though, in case I get somewhere that's like so deep that the legs can get out. Okay, nice. Now from here, it's on that side. Hmm. So I think best bet is continue along here. I take the road, it will take longer. With my fuel. Okay, opening there. Have to go up. You got it. Yeah, I'm not too far from it. Yeah, so is it past the mountains or like on the mountains? Okay, see a roadblock there. See the road. Oh, landslide. This, I think this is like really slippery ice. Looks like rocks are blocking this place. Yeah, I'm gonna have to cross. Hopefully it's shut down, slide down the hill. And it's sliding. Yeah, so no way I'm climbing up this thing. Come on. There you go. Does this one need? Yeah, I don't know. Close. Okay, yeah, rocks blocking, so that tree's blocking me there. Ugh, do I have to go? Um, can I knock this one down? I don't think I can. Turn, truck, turn. And of course I'll go inside another tree that I wasn't even planning to drive into. Trees every time. Every time with trees. This is so ridiculous, bro. Just so annoying. Yep, and of course I can go through that one. And that one's blocking there also. Jeez. I get enough clearance for this. Please say yes. Ooh, ooh. No, don't go off that side. Come on. Maybe go down first and then go up. Come on. Where's the menu again? V. Maybe that side is less steep. Through here. Not on the tree, please. Yes. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, it's up there. Is this proper road or what? Okay, this road here. Yeah, wait, how is it? Uh, okay, no, I'm not on the road. The road's like this side. Okay, I am on the road like perpendicularly. I think this is the road. Yeah, looks like it. Come on, come on. And of course, straight into the tree, of course. Yes. And what is stuck? Ugh, the bed. Come on. We're up. Go straight up. Come on. Straight into a tree. Carefully. Come on, we're real close. Let's better reveal where the garage is. Come on. Ooh, I saw where it's gonna flip, bro. Yeah, there we go. Large, please. Are you kidding me, bro? Stay large. Okay, is there a fuel trailer somewhere? Okay, scout fuel trailer. Going straight down there. And yes. Going to take all the fuel from this. Uh, feet. Fuel. Oh, it holds a lot more than I thought. Yeah, I remember. Two eight. Oops. Okay, now what's the plan? I guess go down the road. I that one. Set. And yeah, continue down. Okay, now, guess I have to go down this road. There's another road on this side. Yes. Sure, it's a cheat. Maybe we're just gonna cheat it, bro. Because we're multiple streams, like just looking for this one garage. Free. What's the place again? Imendra. Last one. Nope. This one. Emir. Where is it? Russian Federation. Wait, did they change the name? Kula is here. Oh no, wait. Kola Peninsula. Yeah. The Kuwait. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, my bad, I was reading wrong. Huh? Where is it? Okay, weird. I don't see where the garage is. You know, there's 100% a garage in here. Recheck this thing. Yep, garage not discovered. It's up there. Wait, what? Okay, from this road, right? Yeah, this road. Bro, you tell me this. Bro, ain't no way, bro. Ain't no way. Okay, where it's saying it's here. So this is the garage. Bro, ridiculous, bro. I literally truck through them multiple times. Which one stays off? Which one's the one that's connected? I think it's this one. Oh yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, that's a 7. 7 connected. See, I'm glad I cheated because, bro, I was wasting my time just driving around. Meanwhile, it's just here. I was such an idiot. Oh, nope. Can I go through there? I think since I went with the other truck, the track should make it easier to go through. Yup, it cleared up the snow. Still difficult though. How am I too far? Okay, great. Oh yeah, the stupid stick. Does it got all the towers? I was literally like, this looks like a garage. I didn't check enough to make sure. See, no notification on the trail. I even passed through this. Where is the what, bro? Is it the map wrong or is what's going on? Why is there literally says this is the garage? I'm so confused. What? Oh, is it like mission locked? Let me see. What's it again? Map. Cola expedition. Right, I could have literally done this when I was whatever. Save this. Words. Words. Wait, both armored vehicles retrieve, right? You see. Oh, nice. Hey, but it's just the right. I see the map here. It doesn't tell me. Am I supposed to do a quest? Okay, garage. Oh, repairing power lines. Okay. So it's a task, right? Which one is it? Oh, is it one I haven't set? Bro, which one is it? Power lines. I don't even know where this task is, bro. It's up. Oh my god, it's up there. Where is this thing? Here. Substitution. So I have to go back all the way up here, bro. Yes. Lever. Fallen pool. Up there. Wait, but isn't that it? Where's that even? Gee, it's up here. Wait, to, bro. Oh, find cargo. Oh, oh, this one. Wait, isn't this one? Okay, anyway, I have to get up here. Jeez, this is gonna be a pain. And I have to get there with this truck because thingy, it's the only one I have here that has the crane. Wait, what? Oh. Just realized I don't have a trailer. Fuel carrier trailer, nope. Yes, I have to go get a trailer. I'm going to just bring this truck. Let's remove cargo. Detach trailer. At least I got a backup truck in case anything goes wrong. Let's not forget the trailer. Come on. She's eating snow. Should have sold this trailer with the Zix. Uh, okay. What was it called again? This one. That one, 2 slots. No, I don't want a semi. Phantom M, where is it? Nope. Although that one can work, right? I think so. Water carrier. A Blizzard. But no, not a gooseneck. Why do I keep... Bro, why can I not find this? Don't know why I'm having a difficult time finding this trailer. Okay, you know what? Where's the flatbed? Let's get that again. So no. And then why is the back option not available now? Bro, the game is messing with me. Yeah, there we go. Jeez, struggles over low truck. Wait, where do I even get the materials? I didn't even check. Warehouse, oh wait, I get it from the thingy. Yeah, I'm supposed to get from here. I'm forgetting now. Those specific ones. Mm. Man. Jeez, running out of fuel. It's detach the trailer. Bro, I said detach. What did he do? Jeez. Eyes off. I just want to unlock the garage. Okay. So I think honestly I'm just gonna get them in this room. Let's see. Yeah, straight through, yeah. Very low crack, guys. Not even to the point where she is great. And then how did it detach? Hello. Okay, the tree went down. eyes. Hopefully this road's better. I'm taking that ice. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to cross. Yeah, because if I can get on the road. Wait, where am I even going? Oh yeah, because there's a blockade. Block is there. Perfect, easy cross. Move. Yeah, so many rocks. Perfect spot. Shouldn't have shift down. Gee, they picked the worst spot to shift. Just had to slide. Come on. Trees, always trees. Bro, wow. What is happening? How is it stuck like that? Stupid fucking things. What is going on in this thing? Of course. Yo, morning. Country. Echt, must know. Yeah, I didn't see the trailer I wanted, so I just picked that one. For some reason, I just kept scrolling past it. I'm like, where's this thing? Nope. I'm going to do the task now. That's it, no problem. Wait, where's the thing to... Wait to accept the task? Oh, accept it by there. We have to collect it. Okay, a lot of rocks that side. Oh wait, it's supposed to do another one. Ah, great. at this one. But don't they tell you for other tasks? Why do they not tell you for this one? That you have to do this first. Um, okay, from here to there. Mm, wait, are you sure you have to do this first? Oh, it's probably locked. You know what? I'm doing it tomorrow. I'm tired. I went around the map for no reason, thinking that the garage is somewhere else. Okay, I'm ending it here. Thanks for joining and see you later. I'm going straight to bed. Yeah, sorry for going. You just keep me.